So you watch me modify a spindle. We built the spindles. These parts are back from powder coating now. This was on the last live stream. Basically, we've made a spindle based on what we got up there, that HD spindle, but we took it and shortened it a little bit. Now we have to do the hubs, and this is one track that I've already assembled just to show you. So these are the hubs that we're going to modify today to work with that spindle. Now we've got these hubs again pre-made for those larger tracks that are up on the rack, but to work with the snow system, it has to be shortened 870 thousandths. So we basically got to cut 870 thousandths off this flange, which you can see here. This is a hub that I just did, 870 thousandths, and then we got to rebore it. We got to move the bearing seat bore in 870, and then we got to move the seal bore in 870. So we got 3 steps to do. So I'll grab another hub that I had pre-made here out of the box. So this is a HD hub right here, ready to go on a set of tracks like that, and I'll put it beside this one that I just did a few minutes ago, and you can see the difference, right? We have to shorten it a bit. So so let's do that right now. Let's not waste any time. So we gotta knock that raceway out. It'd be better if I could hold on to the hammer. Ideally, we'd make these hubs from scratch, but I'm a little bit pressed for time, so it's just going to be quicker to take the hubs that I already made and shorten them. We're going to do this on the turret lathe. So I got a bit of a mess going here. As you can see, I've been working here already today. And we'll put it in, cinch it down. I'm hoping, I'm going to turn you down a little bit so you can see a bit more of what's going on, hopefully. So now we've got the turret already set up. We're going to adjust the slides to sneak up on our bores. We're going to do kind of a couple rough cuts and then maybe a couple finish cuts so we get to our diameters. See, I quickly penned them on here. This one's missing right now. Okay, just give me a second, I'll write that on there. I've got the drawing here somewhere. I don't know if you can see this, but 3.809 right here and 3.935 are our 2 bore diameters. So 3.809, we'll write that right on the boring bar so that we don't forget. So 3.809. Okay. All right. So the first thing we got to do is knock that down. I've got it set on the DRO. So we're gonna take it from 6 inches. You'll see when I touch off here, we'll touch off at roughly 6 inches, which in a few thou. 5.997. Move my caliper away. So we're going to take it down to 5 and 1/30. Just going to do little bites. We're not in a rush. Last thing we want to do is grab that thing and pull it out of the jaws. We're 5,780 right now. Five 7/16, so we're taking about 70,000 off per cut. Not too aggressive. 5.519. Still a little ways to go. It's not a critical measurement anyway. We could be 10 or 20 thousandths either way and not have any issue, but we'll get as close to 5 and 1/30 as we can. Five, 3, 6, 8. 5298. 5234. Over to that lathe when I'm all done and take just a surface cut off and make it nice and shiny. So we'll just leave a little bit of material. So 5.133, close enough. Okay, so that's our facing done. So now 3.809 is our finished diameter, but we're not going to go in at 3.809, and we are set right now to 3.809 on our slide. So we're going to go in probably 20 thousandths under. So we're going to go probably 3.790. So these, I don't know if you can see the dial here, but basically there's 200 thousandths per revolution. So I know that, like, based on where I set it, when I get it from 0 lined up with our mark, that's 3.8, and then it starts counting again, 3.805, 3.810, and each small line is a thou. So we're gonna go at 3.9, what is it, 3.790. So we're 10 thousandths under the 3.8. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna run in, bottom out, and then we're gonna drive the slide down so that we can square off the seat for our seal to go against. Because when we do our finish passes, we're not gonna wanna go in and do that. We're not gonna wanna play with this too much, just so that we don't, you know, go over our bore diameter, because we gotta be really, really close for the press fit for the bearing. Anyway. Now we're making a cut right now. You'll see this will kick off. And then we've already got it set on the screws back there. This is all set up before. Okay, we're gonna go 3.8. and then we're gonna slide to the bottom. So we know we're good because we're not touching the original bore, which was where that bearing was before, or that raceway was before. So we know we're still undersized. These things can sneak around on you and sometimes be a couple thousandths on either side of what you think you're at. But anyway, I'll unclamp it, and now I'm gonna screw that down. And now I just squared off the seat for that raceway. So now we'll take it back. Now I've got a stopper here. This keeps me within my window. So these things are meant to cycle, but fortunately we've got enough of them that when I'm doing these things from scratch, I can set each one and just generally leave it alone, except for the one that has to square up the seat. But this prevents me, like, sometimes you screw that in, you're not counting your turns. When you go back, you don't know where you're at, right? So you'd have to remeasure it. But if you take and screw this stop screw in, it'll stop you really close. It'll stop you less than a turn away, so you know that you'll be within the window, right? So it stopped me 10 thousandths over. It stopped me right where my finished bore is. So I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna sneak up on it. I'm not gonna hit it too hard. I'm gonna go 3.806, and then we'll stop and measure. Normally I wouldn't measure as much when I would be into production with these. I'd have this thing dialed right in, but always for the first few, you want to be a little bit careful just in case you made a mistake, and I tend to make mistakes, so it's better to be safe with sorry, especially when I'm modifying, you know, completed part. If I overbore that 2/1000 of an inch, it's scrap metal. There's no way to make it smaller again. So we're going to take our incher mic here and try and get a very precise measurement. Now, the slide told us we were 3.806. Let's see what the mic says. Yeah, I don't know what kind of detail you guys can get through this camera, but I'll try and read it out to you. So we're going to work that mic in there, make sure it's got the 3 fingers against the raceway seat before I go too crazy with it. So now on here is my measurements, and they're in 200,000s as well. We got 3.8 or 100,000, 3.8, 3.9, 4.0, and then there's small lines in there for every 25,000s. And then this thing, as I turn it, is in 25s, right? So it goes from, I'll go back a bit here. It starts at 0 to 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 25. 0 would be 25, and then when you go 5 more, you're at 30. That's kind of how you do the counting. So we're going to go until we get right at that 3.5 or 3.8. I mean, when the 3.8 lines up with 0, we know we're exactly at 3.8 on the incher mic. So now we think we're going to be 3.806. So I'm only going to turn it out here at the clutch, okay? And then I'm going to wiggle a little bit, 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 and then turn until the clutch slips. So we're actually not at 3.806. We're 1/1000 under. We're one line under the 5 here. The longer line, if you can see it, would be 1,000, and then that's 1/1000. So we're 3.8045, which is good. So there is always a little bit of spring back. I'll run that in again just to demonstrate, and I'll bet you it'll take a very fine cut and it'll get us closer to 3.806. It might not quite get there, but I bet you know, without touching that slide, it's going to take a very, very fine cut off again, and that mic will read just a little bit more. I don't know if you can see in there, you can kind of see the material coming off. And we'll take it right up to the seat. Normally you wouldn't have to do this in production, but since we're making a video and kind of demonstrating this, we'll take a couple extra steps just to show what we deal with, or what I deal with when I'm running this thing. So I'll get this thing back in here, make sure I can see the numbers. So we're at our 0, that puts us at 3.8. So we're at just a hair over 3.805. Probably 3.805. If you look there, just under 3.8055. Okay, so now let's adjust our dial. So this dial will turn independently so that you can do your correction in your boards. It's got a little thumb screw there that you see me adjusting. So now we did 2 passes, we're 3.8055. This is reading 3.8055. Let's sneak up on it one more time just to be sure. We're gonna go 3.808. And then I'll bring it back and let it click into position on its own, and then we'll send it in. We're gonna go in one more time. Even on the finest cuts, there's always just a little bit of resistance. Taking a second pass will get us right to our final diameter. Bring this back. blow it out to make sure that there's nothing. Make sure that there's nothing that can get between the foot of the intramic and the bore. 5, 6, 7. So we're at 3.8075 right now. So we're really close. And I mean, like, this is reading me to thousands, but if you look at them, it's just a lead screw that gets dirt and grease and whatnot in it. So I mean, it's really, really close, but we are, you know, within a half a thousand based on what this is reading. Now we're gonna bring it to 3.809. Like, we're playing with tenths right now on something that reads at best to 1,000. So if we can get within half a thousandths of 3.809, I'm going to be happy. All right, so we think we went in at 3.809. Let's see what we actually went in at. So we're at 3.8085, just a hair under 8085, so 3.8085. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna push our luck, and we're gonna try and sneak another half a thousand out of this. Okay? Cross our fingers. So you can see it's just barely touching the material in there. I don't know if you can see the cut happening, but there's nothing really being taken off. If anything, it's probably just polishing the surface. But I bet you it'll show up on this thing. Like, I think this thing, I don't know, like, I read it to the 1,000, probably to the half a thousand. I think you can read them a little tighter than that based on the dial. So we're just, if you can see it there, if we were lined up right now with our 0 and this line, we would be at 3.809. So we're like 3.8087, something like that. We're like 2 or 3 tenths under our 3.809 target. That is plenty close. We don't want to push our luck and go over, because that raceway has to press fit in there. And if we're, like I said, if we end up doing something wrong, we go a couple thousandths over, that hub is junk. So now we're gonna call that bore good. We're gonna go in with this and do the seal. Now the seal is also a press fit, but not nearly as critical. So if we go a couple thou under, a couple thou over, it would be fine, but I think we can hit it to 3.935 again. But we're gonna start a little bit conservative. We're gonna go 3.925 and send it in. We're taking a cut. Once again, it's set on the screws back there, so it can only go in as far as it needs to. In this case, it's 750 thousandths off the face that we just made. And we're not gonna measure on each one, but we'll take another 5 thou off. So you can see an example of how your bore diameters can get mixed up or messed up. You can see in here how that's a bit tarnished on that cut, and what causes that is some of this chip will get in between the carbide and the material, and basically it'll push the boring bar off the material or push the material off the boring bar ever so slightly. So, you know, you think you made your cut, but actually your cut is undersized, and probably will demonstrate that with this tool. So we think we went in at 3.930, and I bet you we're a couple thou under that. So we'll dial her up here. Start at 3.9. So once we line up with the zeros, we're at 3.9, and now we're going to go around the clock again. 3.925. See, we're at 3.93, just under 3.935. So we're 1,500 under what that says it should be. So if we go in and take another cut off that, that will clean up. And will probably put us a lot. Look at it cleaning up already. Do you see that? So now we're going to go back in at our target. Okay, let's start over here. 3.930. So we're going to go at 3.934 for the first cut, just because we can. So you can see that the chips there, they want to hang up in the boring bar. So we'll go again. Now the chips are so fine, they're really not thick enough to hang around. So on the last cut, it's not as big of an issue. Let's not even measure. Let's just push our luck, because we know we can get away with it if we're out by thousands. So that should be 3.935. I bet you we're going to be at 3.9345 when we're all done. That's my guess. So it's doing a nice clean cut. This is 6061 T6 aluminum. We'll blow it out again. Put our mic in there. So we're 3.9 right at this point. 3.925, 3.930, 3.931, 32, 33. We're just a hair under 3.934. So I was wrong. I was out by 3/4 of a thousand, so about 7/10. So let's run this in one more time without adjusting it. So it's making a noise, so I know it's taking material off. You can hardly see what it's taking off. So it's in the tenths guaranteed, but it's still not going to be our 3.935. But it'd be insanely close. Get the dust out of there. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing here. So we're at 3.934 right now. So let's adjust this. 3.934, and then we'll adjust it up here. lock our gib. So there's a, right here, this is a lever, and there's a gib right down here. And basically you screw that in and it jams the gib so this thing can't move up and down when you're in your cut. I probably shouldn't leave that hanging like that either. Okay. We're definitely taking material off now. We're taking 1,000ths. I bet you we're going to be just a hair over our target. Oh, we're a hair under our target. No, we're right on. So can you guys see that? Our 0 lines up with the 10, which makes it 35. Remember what I said before? We start at 3.9 when our zeros line up. There's 25 marks on there, and then we start counting again from 25, which 5 makes 30. 5 more makes 35. So we're exactly 3.935. Our marks line up perfectly. So this is done. We're right on target. Now we'll just clean up the edges. One edge I have trouble getting at with cutters, so I just use a screwdriver. Actually works. I've had different ends for these to try and do this one cut, and no matter which one I use, it's such a small step that it just doesn't want to take a bite out of it. I guess it doesn't want to grab it, so we'll just cheat. Anyway, happy with that. So we'll blow this off. And we'll take it over here and we'll put the raceway in, make sure the raceway fits. Okay, so this is our raceway that we knocked out a few minutes ago. Normally when I'm doing this, I've got an oven right up there. I'll heat this hub up a couple of 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and then this thing will just drop right in, and then I'll stake it around. But just for this quick job, I don't want to pull the oven down and set it all up. So we're just gonna take our time and send the raceway back in the old-fashioned way. Actually, I've got something here to do it with. Maybe I don't want to use that punch to put it in. Let's just use something a little softer than a bolt. A piece of this 1/2-inch round bar will work. I know I should have brass or bronze or whatnot, but this stuff is surprisingly soft. It's just hot rolled cheese is what I call it, and we're not hitting it very hard, so we're going in a little crooked there already. I've tried using seal drivers before. Not seal drivers, raceway drivers. Never had much luck with them. Heavier hammer, but we're not in a rush. Okay, our raceway's in. It's seated. So the last thing we got to do to this is chuck it in the little engine lathe here. And just we'll take a finish cut out of it, and this thing will come out looking like a rainbow. Gonna plug it in. Start the VFD right there. Give that a second to start. And I am looking for rubber gloves, because when I take that back out of there, I don't want to put any fingerprints on it. Actually, I don't need them just yet. So we don't have to turn very fast at all. We're just going to take a fine little cut off it. I like to cut in reverse. I find when you cut in the intended direction of the cutter, that the chip will come out and jam itself between the cutter and the material, and then just leave witness marks on the part. But by cutting in reverse, that chip tends to want to go to the side where you've cut already and not get jammed. And there's nothing there to jam between, I guess. So tends to leave a better finish. You can see we're just barely pulling a little ribbon off of there. Knock our corner off, and then we'll put it in gear, and we'll let the carriage do the work. You can see that. I don't know if you can see that rainbow, but okay, let's get this stuff out of here before it gets wrapped around our fingers. That's what I hate about aluminum. Long, stringy chips sometimes. Take a small cut off the snout. These diameters that we're turning right now are not critical, so it doesn't really matter how much we take off. We're probably only taking 2 or 3 thousandths off right now, I would guess. On the floor right now, and now we'll knock that corner off so we don't cut our fingers, cut our hand on a sharp edge. And that's basically done. We'll put our gloves on. Put my gloves on. And blow the crap off of it. And there we have it. Hopefully you guys can see it. Nice clean finished part that will you know, fit on the next tower here. So basically we'll take this bearing. I have to put a seal in here too, but first I have to pack the bearing. and then put the bearing in, then pound the seal in, and we're not going to do that on this video. I just want to demonstrate how this setup works. Try and grab it where I won't leave fingerprints. And the hub drops on, and the next bearing. And then we'll have a washer and a castle nut. I don't have the washers prepared right now, but that's basically the setup right there. So that's it, guys. That's how we modify the hub. Just a quick little Saturday afternoon live stream for you. Yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the comments. Comments too, put them in the comments. If you want to tell me that I'm doing it wrong, put that in there too. More than happy to have a chat. Okay. Thanks for watching, guys.